Welcome to another American Catholic History Conversation. I am Tom Crowe, and
Noelle Crowe.
We're here today with our friend Anastasia Northrop, who is the founder of the National Conference for Single Catholics. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Anastasia.
Hey, thanks so much. It's great to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Mm-hmm. I was actually talking before that I met Anastasia before she even founded the conference because her family did audio recordings. I don't know, did you do video
too? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of different conferences, and they came up to Massachusetts to record a conference. Someone contacted me and said, hey, would you mind putting them up? So her family came and slept in my dining room, actually. Do you remember that?
It was a long time ago.
It was. I know.
Oh, there we go. It's our dog saying hello to the house guests. Anyhow,
speaking of house guests,
right. So actually, I first time I remember meeting Anastasia was actually when we were engaged, and the National Conference of Single Catholics was being done in Pittsburgh. Is that the only time you've done it in Pittsburgh?
It's the only time we've had it in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The only time.
Yeah, and
but you actually met Anastasia before that.
I think did I say the first time I remember meeting? Because that's it is the first time I remember meeting.
Okay.
So I feel I'm terrible about these sorts of things.
Well, I have to say it was at Emily Stimson Chapman's wedding,
yeah.
But that was a momentous occasion.
Well, I was so distracted by somebody who was ignoring me completely. And I was also busy being MC at that reception and trying to find the best man who was completely AWOL. So no, I was a little distracted at that wedding. I don't remember a lot of things happening. I remember
you get a pass, Tom. You get a pass.
Yeah. So, but no, it's funny because that first time I remember, I ended up pinch hitting as MC at the conference, and which is funny because it was my first time coming to the conference, and I ended up my first time being when I was engaged. So
yes. Well, and sometimes we actually have engaged couples come back because there's a couple instances of that where this next conference where both of the gentlemen have been involved with the conference and they love it and they have friends there and community. So they're engaged, ready to get married. They're bringing their fiancés to meet people, and then like their last hurrah,
That's fun. Well, actually, that's interesting. So how often, and I know the conference isn't about, no, I'm gesturing with it.
I know. I keep gesturing close to me with it.
I'll turn it around so the ink end isn't toward
okay, thank you.
I know the conference isn't about a meetup and trying to get people together, but how often does that happen where you have people who come to the conference, meet each other, and end up getting married?
I'm not exactly sure, but I know we've had probably at least 15 or 20 couples that I do know of that have gotten married, met at the conference and got married, including my own sister who just had baby number 6 last month. Awesome. And another good friend of mine, she and her husband live here in Texas as well, and they have 5 children, and they met in, I think it was a 2011 conference. So, and there's it still keeps happening. I hear stories about couples that meet. So,
I would say no. I've been to 2 conferences actually. It was at one in Denver in 2006, so way back when, and then of course one in Pittsburgh when Tom was MC. So the conference, I know that the 2006 wasn't the first conference. So when did
just the second one though? I started it in 2005, yeah, and out in Denver, and we had our first one actually at a parish. They had a nice banquet hall, so we had it there, and it was only a 2-day conference, Friday night to Saturday. This is before Facebook and all of that, and we had 400 people sign up from all over the country.
Wow.
Including DC, where we're about to have it now, and I don't even know how they all found out about it. Honestly, we put it in newspapers, diocesan newspapers, and whatever we could at the time, and so it's pretty exciting. And then people said, "Well, when's the next one?" And I said, "Okay, I guess we'll have another one," and that's the one was the 2006 one. So then we had it at a hotel and all of that. Mm-hmm. So. But yeah, my vision behind it was really because of my work with John Paul II's message and the theology of the body, what it means to be male and female. And I thought, well, if single people, everybody knew all of that background on how to have good relationships, things like that, we'd have better dating relationships, better marriages, better vocations to the religious life and the priesthood. And so that was kind of the foundation for it. And I had been doing other conferences on theology of the body, and it was actually a friend of mine who suggested, oh, why don't you do something for singles? And I was in my 20s at the time, and I thought, okay, sure, I've seen the need for it more.
Yeah. Well, in one area that you didn't mention, but also of great benefit, are those of us who end up by being single far longer than we thought we were going to be. Tom and I are married now. We were talking about that conference when we were engaged, but we've only been married for 5 years. So both of us know what it's like to try to figure out that single life far longer than you were expecting to. And, there's a lot of questions that you have as you're single much later, like, well, not really what meaning does my life have, but what direction am I going in? Because I'm still sort of looking towards that future vocation, still trying to figure out, okay, God, what do you want me to be doing in that way? But you also have to live kind of in the now as well, in some kind of meaningful way. And that can be really challenging and really painful from my personal experience to figure out. And so I think having a conference where people can come together and build that community is so important.
Yeah. I mean, I always think of it like a tightrope, really, because we have to be able to be, accepting of God's will in the present moment, and, how we're living fruitfully now, and that gift of self, but then also, where am I going? Are you calling me, am I called to marriage? Am I called to a religious vocation? And how do I pursue that at the same time? Not just sitting around thinking God's going to, drop the spouse from the sky onto your doorstep in the morning, which, I mean, he might do, but I do know somebody whose spouse showed up at their door for a party or something, but.
Mine just ended up at a birthday party across from me at dinner. That's all. Just like, bam.
Well, but you had to go to that birthday party, right?
I did, yes.
So you have to make an effort,
Yes.
Right. Right.
And two, I think sometimes we can get sort of, we think the word single is creepy or something, and it's just or some matchmaking thing, and you're like, but wait, I mean, you don't want to be objectifying people, like, that's very anti-JP2, and you don't want to just look at them as a checklist of items to check off to find the perfect spouse, right? But at the same time, marriage is the one sacrament that you need a second person to enter it with, right? And marriage is one of only 7 sacraments. So it's a good thing, So being open to and kind of seeking to find somebody to enter that sacrament with is a good and wonderful thing. So, I mean, that's why I like with the conference, it's very organic. Like, it's like a big retreat for single Catholics, and, you're praying together and learning together and doing fun things together, including, as what we're going to talk about, your, Catholic pilgrimage and history pilgrimage. But then at the same time, you can meet people in a natural way. And if you hit it off, then great, see where God takes you next.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pilgrimage, before we get to the DC pilgrimage, we were talking a little bit before we started this conversation about our pre-conversation to the conversation. But we were talking about how you're a Byzantine Catholic, and there's actually a pilgrimage that's very close to where we are here in Steubenville at Mount St. Macrina in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. And one of the things I think that's neat about the conference is that you have incorporated over the years those Byzantine aspects as well. So it's a really neat to have sort of that fullness of the Roman Catholic, the Byzantine Catholic, with the singles all being able to experience that together. And then at the conference, I was telling you, at the one pilgrimage I went to at Mount St. Macrina, which, by the way, we did an episode on, so our listeners can find that episode to learn more about that. But Father Tom Loya was there from his parish at that pilgrimage that I went to at Mount St. Macrina, and of course he's also presented at your conferences, and he's such a great presenter. Oh yeah, he's definitely a big favorite, and he's such a big supporter of the conference too. I mean, he's spoken several times. It's done a retreat. I mean, I so appreciate his support, and he really sees, I think, he really sees the heart of singles, which is really special about him as a presenter. Like, it's not just, I think sometimes people in the hierarchy don't understand or don't even realize that
singles exist, or sometimes it doesn't occur to them. They're just like preaching to married people in pews or whatever, which I mean is great. I'm all about Catholic marriage, right? But Father Loya really does have a gift for seeing that particular cross. And he also even talks about how single people influenced him in his priesthood. It's really beautiful. Like he specifically mentioned that before. So, and besides that, has that, artist perspective and Byzantine perspective on theology of the body. So he just has a very unique presentation. So yeah, we're big fans for sure. And I appreciate you mentioned that about the Byzantine aspect too, because I do, the church is universal. And so I do want to show that to people in the conference. And, we usually have a Byzantine prayer service. The one you guys were at, we actually had a whole liturgy, which is the only time we've done a whole liturgy there in Pittsburgh. But we usually have a morning prayer service. This year it'll be the Akathist to the Mother of God, for Our Lady. And then also even with the masses, they're both, Roman Rite masses, but we try to vary the music selection. So we have kind of like get some kind of Gregorian chant, schola, or more traditional choir, and have a more contemporary, kind of normal Sunday mass music as well at the other one, just to kind of give people a taste of all the riches that we have in the church too. So.
Well, in the DC area where the conference this year is going to be, there's a Byzantine parish there. Actually, a couple of them. There's Epiphany, which is the Ruthenian, and then there's Holy Transfiguration, which is Melkite. Holy Transfiguration has their huge Middle Eastern food festival every year on Labor Day weekend as well. So if anybody's out there close to the northern DC, northern Virginia area before the conference over Labor Day weekend, head out to Holy Transfiguration, get some dancing, get some amazing music.
Some delicious food.
Oh Middle Eastern food is the best. Greek festivals, same kind of idea.
Absolutely. So it's great.
So we have scheduled a pre-event in conjunction with your conference coming up. The conference is coming up in 2 weeks. Essentially, it's the conference itself is September 16th, 17th, and 18th. So it's a little more, 2.5, 3 weeks.
Right.
Anyway, 16th, 17th, and 18th. Well, from when we're recording this, it's that long. This will be up in the next day or two, so it'll still be about that. Anyway, but prior to that, September 14th, 15th, and then earlier on the 16th, we will be doing a pre-event. And how many pre-events are there usually? And then how many are there this year? Is it about the same amount?
Yeah, it's about the same. I didn't even exactly count them, but we have a couple Wednesday. We have, I think, 3 or 4 on Thursday, at least 3 on Friday. Then plus we have post on Saturday. I mean, I'm sorry, Sunday after the conference. We have a few of 3 different options. And then even on Monday, we have something as well. So
it's other events in the local area where people who come to the conference can go and experience something else that's in the area around the conference. And these are done wherever the conference is held. So this one, of course, is in DC. So I think I saw there's like hiking. What were some of the other ones?
We have a couple different hikes. We have the going downtown DC to see like the Basilica and JP2 Shrine and the Ukrainian. Well, actually, the Ukrainian Shrine is right up the road, but the Franciscan Holy Land. Excuse me. And then we also have like somebody's even organizing lawn games on the National Mall on Sunday. So
nice. But of course, the best pre-events are the 3 that we will be leading. Everyone who's coming should sign up for these. It's on the 14th. We'll be going down to Southern Maryland and seeing some awesome sites and some awesome historic Catholic sites in Southern Maryland. That's Wednesday the 14th. On Thursday the 15th, we will be going to Annapolis and Bowie, Maryland, to see Charles Carroll, and so kind of the Carroll Day. Charles Carroll, where he was born in Annapolis, where his father's house was also Charles Carroll, and then John Carroll's mother's plantation, which became the Jesuit establishment at now Sacred Heart Parish in Bowie, Maryland. That's on Thursday. And then on Friday morning, we'll be going to Mount Vernon, followed by Mass at the Basilica of St. Mary in Alexandria, Virginia, which is the oldest Catholic parish in Virginia, and follow that with like a walking tour of Old Town Alexandria. And we may swing out to St. Mary of Sorrows in Fairfax Station before heading back out to Chantilly. our most recent episode we just recorded last night and will come out on Monday is about St. Mary of Sorrows and how Clara Barton went out there to tend to wounded troops during the Second Battle of Bull Run, or Manassas, depending on your persuasion. And it was before she founded the Red Cross, but her experience there contributed to her founding the Red Cross. So anyway, all of that will be, that's all part of our pre-event. We're really excited to partner with you on this and offer this to folks coming to the conference. So
yeah, no, it's really neat. I mean, I was just when we were putting it up on the website and you sent me the list and all the links and I'm putting in, I'm like, wow, man, I wish I weren't so busy right before the conference. I want to do this,
Well, this is one of the pilgrimages that we do offer. It's a shortened version, so we're not doing everything. We also do some other things in Baltimore and a little bit more. But it is one of the pilgrimages that we usually offer because we do this one. We've done pilgrimages out in Santa Fe. We do a pilgrimage in Kentucky,
which is awesome.
Tom was mentioning before, which is our favorite pilgrimage. It is such a great pilgrimage out in what's called the Kentucky Holy Land
and Bourbon Country.
Right.
And then also up in Wisconsin, we have a number of different itineraries. So we are always interested in working with someone who wants to put one together. So maybe sometime when you're not so busy, you can grab a few of those other singles that and we can just put on a separate
we can do a
pilgrimage.
Yeah, we could do like a national pilgrimage for single Catholics in conjunction with American Catholic history. Put together like a traveling
down in Kentucky,
a traveling show for smaller groups, Kentucky or Wisconsin or
wherever people would like to go. We're happy to put that together and go out there. So
because honestly, it's one of the things she said. Wherever you'd like to go, it's amazing. We have a map on our website that has the 50 states, and you can click on a state and find all the stories from that state. I think the only state we haven't done a story in so far yet is Arkansas. But we've done at least one story in conjunction with every other state in the union.
So if there's anybody from Arkansas listening, send us your Catholic stories.
Send us your Catholic history. Maybe we'll just do the history of Little Rock diocese because that's the whole state. But no, it's what she said. Where do you want to go? It really is the case that we could probably put an itinerary together pretty much. Maybe not Wyoming. There's not much in Wyoming.
I know. I used to live there.
I don't know about pretty much everywhere, but there are a number of places with some great Catholic history. Yeah. You're always looking. The thing is, there's some great historical stories, but then you actually need a physical place to go to, or something like that. And also, if you're doing a pilgrimage, you want like a number of them grouped together. So
that's true.
Some places are a little bit harder than others.
Well, you just travel further.
But New Orleans, that's the other place.
I want to do the Archbishop Sager's pilgrimage cruise.
I do too.
So
that's Alaska.
It's the Pacific Northwest and Alaska.
Well,
so he was in Oregon City, which is around the Portland area.
Yeah.
And then up in Vancouver Island. So passing by Seattle and whatnot. So the Pacific, and you can, and then combine it. The Sager's De Smet pilgrimage. So Alaska, the Pacific Northwest, up the Columbia River, up the Snake River, up into Canada. Yeah. That would be amazingly gorgeous.
There's something for Anastasia to consider. Maybe we need to have a national conference for Catholic singles on a cruise.
Ooh,
up in Alaska.
Yeah. Well, that would be fun for sure. Yes. Alaska's the one state I have not been to. So
one of the shrines of Saint Therese is up there in
No.
It's on the island like south of Juneau. What was it called? I forget.
Not Sitka.
Not Sitka, that's way out. But there's a national shrine to the little flower there, and it's one of the first shrines, or no?
It is. It is one of the first shrines.
Yeah.
To her in the United States.
There's also one in Texas.
Yep.
A big important one. Yeah, there's a number of them, and we did a story on some of the shrines, and when we were doing it, it was, again, I guess the little flower is one of those saints. She's European. We don't really think about the fact that, well, she was being canonized in the 1920s. Of course, America existed at the time. And I didn't realize the extent to which American...
It is in Juneau.
In Juneau, yeah. American Carmelites participated and assisted in her canonization process.
Wow.
It was really interesting. And I think that the shrine in Texas, was it the shrine in Texas that has a gift from Carmel because of their help that they gave, something like that.
Well, no, we actually didn't cover the one in Texas.
No, I
'cause-
know.
Yeah.
But I think the one in Texas had something to do with, it was either that or the one in Chicago.
Yeah, it was one in Chicago. The one in
Okay.
Chicago had the one
Okay.
in Chicago was directly involved in the
In the
canonization
canonization.
process.
Okay.
And they ended up, it's like Teresa's sisters said, here's a whole bunch of artifacts and relics from
That's
her.
what it
So,
was.
Yeah.
But there's something about the one in Texas too.
Yeah.
But anyways, the interesting thing though was just that you realize how prevalent the devotion to the little flower is here in the United States. You see so many churches with her name on it, but one of those reasons is because Catholicism was sort of growing dramatically. Right. It was, it was growing at a slow but steady pace through the 1800s. But once you get to around the turn of the century is when it sort of booms, because you have all this immigration coming from all of Eastern Europe, from Italy, from, different parts of Europe. And I think she was sort of the first major saint, the first major canonization that was happening as all that was going on. And so there's just this unique connection between the United States and the little flower, which I never realized before, which is just interesting.
That's awesome.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a shrine on a little island just outside of Juneau, the little flower up in Alaska. So
Wow, that would be beautiful.
So it is a dream to get up there one day, for sure.
Yep.
I'd love to. So, anyways, can you just tell a little bit about? We've mentioned that the conference is in DC. So it moves around. So what is, I don't know, your goal, or what was your thinking in choosing DC this year? And then also, what is just a little bit of sample of what the schedule is like for people who might be interested? And then I guess that flows into what's the deadline if people want to sign up?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. Well, so yeah, we have had it all over the country. I started it in Denver and had it there a few years, and then I moved to the Chicago area. So I had it in Chicago, and then San Diego Diocese, they wanted to have it there too. So then we had a couple in San Diego, and then basically at some point I started having. Well, then I moved to Texas. So I moved all over the place. Anyway, so then we had it in Texas. San Antonio a couple years, and actually that's where the Basilica to Saint Therese is here in Texas.
Yep.
And if you ever go there, visit the Adoration Chapel downstairs. They have a beautiful icon of Elijah. That's just a side note, but anyway, it's very nice. Anyway, so yeah, and then in 2012, I started moving it around. So for the last 10 years, we've had it in a different location every year. And this is the first time we've had it back on the East Coast since 2013, when we had it out in Philadelphia. And so yeah, that one of our volunteers, well, your good friend, Beatrice, she, it's been so great to have her on board in our study groups and things. And she wanted to bring it to the DC area. And so, and basically we kind of base where we have it on the accessibility of the location, but also what kind of volunteer base we have and things. And so since she was so excited to bring it to that area, and I technically Northern Virginia, because it's out at the about 10 miles away from the Dulles Airport, and 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
And but it's actually doesn't feel like an airport property at all. It's on 26 acres. It's like a big retreat. There's a tennis courts, and so yeah,
it's a nice place.
Exactly. So we were thinking of having it in Florida, and when I put the did the hotel search, the dates and the rates weren't coming in right. And so then when Beatrice said she wanted to have it in Northern Virginia, I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. And so I'm very excited because it's such a great Catholic area.
It really is.
The East Coast, it just draws from, and we have people coming from all over, though. Arguably, like people were coming from California. We have people coming from as far away as the Philippines and Australia, and somebody from Ireland. So yeah, people are definitely coming in from all over for it. We usually have people from over 40 different states in the US as well. So yeah, it's a big reunion, a big just community retreat. the fellow
That's
single
great.
Catholics. And we have mass. So Friday night, for example, we have our opening. Christopher West is going to be giving the opening keynote talk. And then we have a reception afterwards with the music and, hors d'oeuvres, heavy hors d'oeuvres, and just a nice time to relax and enjoy. And I love the venue too, Westfield's Marriott, because we're having our reception out on the Sunset Terrace, and it's just going to be a great ambiance and atmosphere too. So, so then on Saturday we have a couple talks in the morning. We also have optional morning prayer. That's when we're going to have the Byzantine morning prayer as well. And then if you want to get up early and take a walk, there's somebody that's going to be leading a rosary walk, and breakfast is an option as well. And then we have mass followed by lunch, and then a talk in the afternoon. We have adoration, whole adoration hour, and then we have a break for dinner. And people can either go to local restaurants, or this year we're having a special Saturday soiree. And we're having, so if you don't want to go off property and go like find restaurants or whatever, you can just stay right there, and we'll have another like heavy hors d'oeuvre kind of dinner option where you don't sit down and eat with everybody and you're stuck at one table, but you can mingle and go to and talk to different people and everything, and then go straight into the dance. And the dance is always fun. So that's just, people have had time to get to know each other. And so it's just super fun. Last year we had a 20s theme. And so a bunch of people dressed up, and
Ooh,
That was very fun.
Yes, I do. I remember the dance. That was a lot of fun.
So yeah. And then Sunday we have the last closing talk and mass, and people go off to their post events or hang out and relax, or it's it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Wow.
I almost want to go.
Yeah, you guys should stay afterwards. And there's actually one couple, they just celebrated their anniversary. I think it was this must be their 7th year they're married, but the husband had gone to the conference several times, probably like 10 times or something. And he met his wife on Catholic Match, and they got married, and then they've come back a couple times just to help and volunteer. So he and his wife, I just found out yesterday, they're coming back again to volunteer, and help out.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely be around, maybe not attending all the conference, but we'll definitely be around since we have so many friends who are there, especially Beatrice and my friend Kathleen, who lives close by in Fairfax. So
fun.
We'll definitely be hanging around to do some visiting and just be with friends. And yeah.
Good.
We'll crash the dance.
Crash the dance.
There you go.
Tell them how it's done, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can share your own story, like I think
If you remember that story, Anastasia, it's quite a doozy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if it would give people hope or scare them away.
I think seeing couples married in the end always gives hope.
Okay, fair enough.
For those who are having challenging or complicated stories themselves, then
that's true.
Yeah. Well, if you ever have a segment for that and you want a couple to come and share their very interesting.
It's comical.
And,
I'll give it that. It's there are definitely some laughs at my expense. It happens.
Poor Tom.
And there's that one moment when everyone has the same reaction. You said what? Hey, I'll explain. If you see it from my perspective and you understand my personality, it made perfect sense.
Oh dear, you're gonna have to do a segment on that, because now everybody
didn't run away. And she didn't run away. So you know what? I read the room.
Oh, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's that?
I said, and it's worth the wait, right?
Yeah, no, yes, absolutely. I'm sorry it took so long, but but no, honestly, we'd be happy to share the insanity of our story, because it has its moments of hilarity, but no, it'd be good.
I mean, I think it is a story that can definitely give people hope, because there's a lot of craziness and kind of twists and turns of it. A lot of heartbreak before things kind of worked out. I
Mhm.
don't want to give people the promise that your twists and turns and heartbreak are going to end up necessarily with a good ending. And I certainly had a lot of those that didn't end up with a good ending before they did. So I never want to say, like, if you just wait long enough, make that promise. But I think it is the truth. I mean, I know it is the truth that God is faithful to you as you're walking, whatever you're walking, and that if you do, and I want to not say it too glibly, because I know from personal experience it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to, go to mass every day and, be crying at half of them because things are difficult and it's not fun being by yourself. And you're living in that uncertainty, even as you're trying to make a good life in the moment. It's this tension that you're living that's difficult. And so, I don't want to offer false hope, but at the same time, I want to offer, I guess, true hope that God is doing something that is wonderful and perfect for you.
Mhm.
Whether it seems that way or not, but by holding on to that, you actually do make it through. Even with tears, you make it through, and it makes it possible to get to wherever. And obviously, we got married. Our story isn't finished. Just because we got married, we're still
No, it just changed, and we're just getting warmed up.
pretty much. Now we're doing this,
And the Montessori school.
and the Montessori school, and heading in new and interesting directions in different ways.
Mhm.
So
Well, it's beautiful to see, I think, too, especially for those of us who, are older singles or, might end up marrying older, that even if we don't end up with biological children, there's a lot of fruitfulness in marriage. And I think sometimes people don't think about that like, even if there is fruitfulness in your marriage as your sacrament as a couple, that wouldn't be there if you weren't together. So it does matter that you're together, even though, even if you're not having babies, right? You know what I mean? Like it's, I think some people don't, it's harder to see that.
It's harder to see it from the outside, but it's also, it can be challenging to see it from the inside as well. When, this is part of our story, but when you really, 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 really wanted to have kids, and then they kept not happening. And then seeing like how does God work with that, and what does God put in your path for you instead of that? And what sort of reliance do you have to have, and trust do you have to have that, like, nope, this is the good that God has for us. It's not the good that we wanted, but it's the good that God has for us. And we're going to, he put this door here and he's opened it, and we're going to walk through it, as difficult as it is. So, and accepting that. And it's not easy. But it's a reality, and it's part of the story. And so. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's redemptive too. All of our,
I hope so.
all of our sufferings are redemptive.
I hope so.
We offer love.
Oh, this is the suffering part, but yeah. Well, this got.
That's true. I know.
This took a turn.
Not
Right.
on a somber note,
Right.
but
Somber but joyous. It has its own joys. So yeah. Anyway.
yes.
Yeah. Well,
right.
and the community is helpful.
Right. Well, now we get to share all of this, and and if we had children, I don't know. I don't want to say we couldn't do this, but I definitely know we have more freedom to do this and to share with people the amazing history that we have here in the United States. One of my favorite things about American Catholic history is just sharing with people the amazing people who have done heroic things here in the United States.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And sometimes we know a few of their names. We might know St. John Newman. We might know
Catherine Drexel,
or Francis Xavier Cabrini. We might know some of their names, but we might. I think most people don't really know their stories very well. The way we know, like we were talking about the Little Flower, and the way we know her story, I don't think people even know their stories that well.
Right.
Even the ones that they can name, never mind the ones that they can't name. And we were working on a book called 100 Holy Americans. There's over 100 Americans who are somewhere along the path to sainthood, whether they're already a saint they're a blessed, a venerable, they're just a servant of God at this point, but their cause has been accepted. There's 100 of them.
More than 100.
Yeah,
and we could list a handful of others, just rattle them off,
who should be
who aren't in the servant of God vein yet.
But
Wow.
but we're going to change that.
Yes.
But to be able to introduce people to these people, to get them excited about these people who lived and prayed and worked right here in the same places where we do. We're going to go to DC, and we have several of those people, but one of them, or several heroic, interesting people that we're going to go learn about in the history tour. But one of them that we're not going to talk about, but she's a servant of God, is Mary Virginia Merrick, who was paralyzed at 18, lived into her 80s, and founded the Christ Child Society to help as a paralyzed woman.
From the neck down.
From the neck down. I mean, she's amazing.
She couldn't use her hands, let alone her feet, but she founded this incredible movement that goes on to this day and does incredible work for children and mothers. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So being able to share about all these people and hopefully helping people to develop devotions to our own holy people, our own people who are from our own place, which is, we're talking about the St. John Paul II and the theology of the body. One thing he said on a visit to the Americas was basically Americans, he was talking to North and South Americans, but Americans, get to know your own saints, your own family.
That's our sticker. That's the quote for our sticker. Sorry.
and that's one of our goals in doing this, that we hope that people take that out and hopefully develop a devotion to somebody they didn't know about before, but learned about and decided that that's somebody from here that they really want to get to know. So.
Yep. What she said.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we hope that we can impart some of that to some of those participants at the Catholic Singles Conference. Maybe somebody will be interested in Mary Virginia Merrick and just the amazing things she was able to accomplish as a single woman who was never able to get married thanks to her disability, but was just absolutely beloved because of the work she did for children. So, yeah, we'll have to look up a few single stories to throw in as we're doing some other things.
Sure. No, it sounds amazing. And I'm very excited that so many are going to be joining you for that. And so the deadline for yours to sign up for your pilgrimages is that it's the 31st.
The 31st, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have our current rate deadline is also the 31st, and then the price goes up after that, but people can still register until the end and even, walk in. It's just for our purposes because of food counts and everything like that. So that's how we structure it. But so yeah, the hotel deadline was yesterday, but I'm reserving some rooms. So, and some people sometimes are cancellations. So we will keep a waiting list, and then hopefully accommodate as many people as we can at our group rate.
Okay.
Yeah, people. It's going to be a big party. We have over 300 registered now. So by the time the conference happens, we're expecting to have around at least 400 people there. So
very cool.
Yay, that's
very
so
cool.
Great. That's wonderful. Well, we will definitely keep encouraging people we know to sign up for the conference, maybe come with us also. But just again, as people who were single until recently, we know the value of the conference and the value of getting together and having, like you said, that retreat experience with other singles, with other people who are walking the same walk that you are, and building that community that you talked about, like the people who come back year after year because they have that community. And then actually one other thing, you do not only have the community there in person, but then there are ways for people to also stay in touch and continue that community once the conference is over as well, right?
Oh yeah. And last year we just started our app, which has been wonderful. GS24 app, based on our GS24 communities named after Gaudium et Spes 24, that John Paul II would quote all the time, that man is the only creature on earth willed for itself, and he cannot fully find himself except through a sincere gift of himself. So that's kind of the basis of the foundation of the conference message. And but we started the study groups, and that's how I met Beatrice, because you recommended she come back in 2020. So we've been doing that for 2 years, 8-week online study groups, and then started the app last year. And it's great because we have a social wall, we've got a prayer intention wall, we have an invitation wall, so people like invite each other to things, different events. We have a man cave and a ladies parlor, so the men and women can talk. We have video room, lounge, people can get on there. So like, it's such a great way for people to stay connected, and people are like planning now for the conference. In fact, we had a group, one of the women from one of the GS24 groups organized a cookbook. So you know how they have the church cookbooks and everything?
Yeah.
So we, they got recipes. So we have over, I think it's like 350 recipes, and the cookbook is being printed right now. We're going to have those available at the conference, but that was a great community effort. And the proceeds of that are going to go to our scholarship fund to help people be able to attend, different events that maybe have more financial constraints. And so yeah, it's so beautiful. And it delights me so much just to see the, connections and people getting together. And I mean, sometimes people will post, oh, I was out on, in California for a business trip, and look, we all had dinner together, that my, GS24 group, and, people from the app and everything. So we have that. And then we also, earlier this year, we started a series called Relationship Ready, the Single Catholic's Roadmap to Marriage. And the idea with that was just that, why wait until you're engaged to get good formation for marriage prep? And so we pulled together a whole line of experts on, that are in marriage ministry, and a lot of our previous speakers from the conferences and things, and did a whole 14-part series live with Q&A and small group discussion afterwards. And so this fall, we're going to be using some of those recordings and doing like our GS24 study group. We'll do that Relationship Ready program. And so those who missed the spring version can, have more discussion with the fall. And it's just great to know people are getting tools to build better relationships and hopefully, better marriages. So yeah, there's a lot ways to stay connected too. And until God moves you to the next stage of your vocation.
Right. Well, I'm excited with so many things in the way that you've been growing with the conference and all these other things. Every time I see something new that you put out there, I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful that people are able to participate in something like this, and that you're able to put that on. So
well, thank you.
Great seeing all of that. And we are really looking forward to seeing you in person, and seeing everybody at the conference, and everyone who's going to come with us to explore the Catholic historical roots in Maryland and
Northern Virginia. Yes, indeed.
So
awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. Likewise. Totally looking forward to seeing you in person. And thank you for hosting these pre-events. It's very special.
Our pleasure. No, we're really looking forward to it. Like Noelle said, I think it'll be a great opportunity for a lot of things. Yeah. So cool.
Well, great. Well, it's great talking to you, Anastasia. Thank you so much for sharing about the conference, and
we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh, and in case anybody wants to come, nationalcatholicsingles.com. That's the website.
Oh, right. Yeah. Very important. Very important.
We'll put that in the.
Well, I'll do it on like a lower third also somewhere, and we'll put it in the information. So
Great.
Very good. So we'll see you in a few weeks. Thanks for joining us, and
sounds great. All right, see you then.
Till then. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.